Good morning and welcome back to Planet Althistory. Today we are going to discuss what if Austria-Hungary had colonies. It would be wrong to assume that Austria-Hungary never had any colonies whatsoever. Austria-Hungary had some expeditions and some colonies, technically, but those were very short-lived. Moreover, there is also this argument that Bosnia could be counted as a colony. I mean, geographically speaking, Austria-Hungary would have a difficult time possessing colonies. Let's also not forget that Austria-Hungary was mainly invested in the Balkans, and that they had a huge interest to absorb the rest of the European part of the Ottoman Empire. The goal was to reach the city of Thessaloniki in today's Greece. Austria-Hungary had some opportunities in OTL to get colonies. One opportunity was during the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 85, where the Europeans divided Africa, and another opportunity the Austrians had was when Spain approached them. Spain wanted to get rid of their colonies because they were losing the Spanish-American War, and as a result, well, they wanted to sell today's Western Sahara or Western Saharan territory to Austria-Hungary, but it was ultimately rejected. Then there was also the port of Tianjin, but it can't really be counted as a colony per se. This alternate history will show you why it would be a bad idea for Austria-Hungary to possess colonies, and why the Habsburg Empire was actually very smart to not accept colonies in the first place. What if all of that changed? What if Austria-Hungary had colonies? To be honest, I feel that this alternate history is a very unlikely one, but it is not an ASB scenario. Austria-Hungary had options, was even approached by other powers to get colonies, participated in colonial conferences, and was considered a great power. But the Habsburg monarchy ultimately wasn't really interested in colonies, and Austria had very logical goals in their foreign policy. They were not focusing on expansion, which was dependent on good sea access, but they wanted to expand in the Balkans, a region which already was partially occupied by them. Just getting out to the Mediterranean and out of the Mediterranean would be a very difficult task for the double monarchy. First of all, there needs to be peace with Italy. There needs then to be peace with the Ottomans. Brits, or the Brits and the Spanish and the French fleet, they would then just cause a lot of trouble and block them. With all of that said, let's just imagine a timeline in which Austria-Hungary is open to have colonies. Never mind the implications, the costs, never mind nothing at all. Just the fact to have colonies would be important, a prestige project. Okay, but which part of Austria-Hungary wants to have the colonies now? The Hungarians surely not, because they are mostly landlocked and Croatia was not fully Magyarized yet, or Hungarianized. This leaves us with the Austrian part of the empire. Austria would have an easier time to access the sea, and Slovenia was partially Germanized, not totally but partially. And the sea access and also this more German-speaking area would be a very positive point to venture out for colonies. Moreover, most explorers under the flag of the Habsburg monarchy were Austrians or German-speaking people in general. Let's say that in the Berlin Conference of 1884-85, Austria-Hungary was able to get Somalia. Libya could also be an option, but the proximity to Italy would just be an advantage for Italy, of course, and a conflict over Libya, that seems very unlikely. What would be the gain for Austria-Hungary to have a war over Libya against Italy? Further down the line, Italy would make bigger efforts to take Ethiopia and to annex all of it, and at the same time Italy could request aid from the Austrians, who would then divide Ethiopia with Italy, creating a good diplomatic relationship, but this relationship would just hold for some time, and it would also be mainly a relationship which would be very advantageous in Africa especially. Internally, the Hungarians and many other minorities wouldn't be happy that the Austrians are just venturing out in the world, taking colonies left and right, which then cost also money. Why was that money spent somewhere far away? And not to mention the fact that the empire got now even more diverse. Which language would be used in the colony? Who would get access for the new job positions in the administration? What about the navy? What about the army? This would be questions that the people would ask themselves, and not just any random person, but especially those that are vital for the functioning of the empire, those that are partially educated and those who are working in the administration parts. With Somalia and parts of Ethiopia's colony, Western Sahara would be added as a new colony to the multi-ethnic empire, because it had, after all, some experiences already with colonies. A lot of money would be spent in this territory in particular, and it would anger the Hungarians a lot. Would we see a bloody rebellion against the Austrians? Not really, but the cohesion of the double monarchy would suffer a lot. Not to mention the military and the navy, they would be spread thin. Sure, Austria-Hungary could build new ships, but this would again cost a lot of money, and it would make Austria-Hungary even more dependent on their relations with the UK, for instance. I mean, Gibraltar, Cyprus, the Suez Canal, even Malta. Well, this is very important to take as a note. World War I would still happen, and in this timeline, Austria-Hungary will have no chances at all. The colonies, they will be quickly taken. Western Sahara, mostly a desert without any noteworthy resources, would be taken within days, because first of all there is no big settlement, and the only settlement that may exist in there could be a military outpost. Somalia and parts of Ethiopia could perhaps last longer, but supplies, they would never reach those places, as the Entente would just block the Austrians. The navy would be reduced. Many soldiers couldn't be used on the front lines against Italy, Austria and Serbia, and the cohesion within the empire suffered, as did the state budgets. With all of that said, Austria-Hungary would probably lose much faster, and we could see perhaps even the Hungarians getting more favorable terms after World War I, if they were able to turn earlier on against the Austrians. What would these terms be? I have no clue. I can't really predict what those terms would be. And I can't even predict whether the Hungarians would really turn against the Austrians. Perhaps they would do so, but they would still not get any favorable terms and be seen as the bad guy. Western Sahara would later on be annexed by the French, while Italy would get Somalia and the rest of Ethiopia. The Italians would still be angry at the French for stealing Western Sahara, and the French, they were not ready to give up on Tunisia or other colonies. The French, they would not make any deals with the Italians, and this would still anger the Italians a lot. And it would seem that the Italians, even though they were a winner, well, they would still feel as a loser, because they were promised in their own narrative Western Sahara. Austria-Hungary would in such a scenario have no chance of survival at all, due to the lack of money, the dependence of multiple powers to connect with their colonies, the absence of soldiers which could influence important and crucial battles in the front lines, and also the increased internal problems between the multiple ethnicities. As a result, we can say that not getting colonies was indeed the best move Austria-Hungary could do. And that's where we leave it for now.
That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. Be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, support me also on Patreon, and join my forum, forum.planetalthistory.ga. Until next time on Planet Alt History.